Welcome to the Back 9 Six-Pack with Mitch and Justin. Let's roll.
Hello and welcome to episode 77 of the Back 9 Six-Pack. My name is Mitch, joined by my esteemed colleague Justin, who is off camera, not that we're on camera, flipping off his phone. What just happened in the game?
Mark Andrews.
Touchdown.
Sitting on my bench.
Yeah, you're disgraced.
Last 2 weeks, first 2 touchdowns, not played them.
That's good. That was a nice little open. I'm gonna crack my liquid death to that.
It had to happen. I saw it happen, and I'm like, I've got to flip this guy off because he's officially dead to me.
Yeah, you're disgraced fantasy tight end right there.
Oh God,
hey, Tucker Kraft, your pack.
He scored this week, so he's a touchdown machine.
All right, big news. We are 5 weeks out from the Turkey Open.
Almost full, very close to full.
Very, very close, as in 2 spots left. So if you haven't signed up and you want to play,
yeah,
this is your opportunity.
And apparently we're being told there's zero wiggle room. So if you get waitlisted, you're waitlisted. There's no hey, we're going to go to the course and see if we can do 2 more. I've been told that if we were talking about cliche lines, I got a hard stop at 24.
I wasn't aware of the hard stop, but you got to respect the hard stop. If anything,
it's like the most cliche thing to say in a meeting to make you sound more important than you are.
Got a hard stop at 3.
Yeah, God.
So yeah, if you've not signed up yet and you want to, please back9sixpack.com/turkeyopen. The form is there for you to do that. And hey, while you're here and you're in our orbit, go ahead and give us a nice 5-star rating on the podcast feed. Leave it a comment if you'd like. Rating, review, blah, blah, blah. Follow us on social media at Back9Sixpack. I don't have much else just right off the top. Usually we have a little bit of a preamble, but
yeah. We played golf yesterday.
I'd say let's get into that, yeah.
It was very cold in the morning.
Yeah,
but it quickly got warm.
It was weird.
It got warm on hole 11, and I meant to bring my shorts out on the course with me so I could change into shorts, and I did not, and I sweated pretty heavily on the last 6 holes.
Yeah, I was in a weird situation where I had the Under Armour, the Nike thermal
I was
layer.
not going to wear anything I couldn't immediately take off.
Yeah, that was my problem. So once we got to those last 6 holes, like you said, I was sweating. I was trying to roll the sleeves up on this thing. I couldn't.
Yeah, I was not. I was I'm not wearing anything I can't take off other than I was going to bring shorts with me out on the course. But I thought the course was in pretty good shape.
The greens were nice.
The greens were great. Fairways are a little weird.
Fairways were very weird. They were doing a little bit of work around some of the holes too, so I think there was some of that.
We were talking about it. It was pretty firm, but then the fairway, there was no grain to it. It was just kind of like a hurricane of grain anywhere your ball was. You know how sometimes they shave it going towards the hole and then back. There was no grain to it, so it was depending on the lie. I didn't get many good lies in the fairway yesterday.
What's a fairway?
Honestly, I started saying, I was I wish I was in the rough.
I don't know, man. Trust me, I was in that rough a lot, and there was some really thick shit out there.
Yeah, but the greens were awesome. I thought the
greens were awesome, and it was crazy. Gunther and I were talking about it. I think it was the 10th or 11th hole. We were there was no reaction on these green surfaces. It was just a firm bounce, and
that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they rolled really nice.
They did. And then I drained the really long putt on 2. And the whole rest of the day, I said this line every time I made a putt. And I made a decent amount of putts. It's almost unfair. Because that was the course. So just some background. That's the course I grew up on.
Yeah.
I've played that course 9,000 times. It's like riding a bike. I know every green out there, pretty much. There was one putt yesterday that I'm I don't really remember. I don't really remember this green much, but other than that, I made a decent amount of putts, and every time I made a putt, I was it's unfair. The field can't handle this right now.
Yeah,
and I did. I didn't miss many putts yesterday.
Well, it shouldn't be a shock for everybody listening that your team won the blind 2-man draw. I pretty much think that almost anyone that got paired with you probably was going to win. I think Nick was the only person within reach of your score.
Yeah, it sounded like everybody didn't play very well.
Yeah. I mean, I shot 83, and like I told you before, I was I think I made 5 doubles. So that happened.
I made a double yesterday.
I made 2 birdies. 3, I made a long, like you said, long putts, nice long putt. And then on what? Can't remember what hole it is on West. What's the one with it's like the big like slinger left and the dumbass tree in the front of the green.
Oh, that's 5.
So I like chunked a wedge, like I had like a wedge in, chunked it just short of the green, chipped in for birdie. It was one of those rounds.
God, we had a couple good looks in our group on that hole too, and no one made it. But we played, so everybody played a hodgepodge of tees, I'm assuming.
We played the blues in our group, yeah.
We played the blacks in our group.
Yeah.
And that is a big boy course from that tee box.
I could not have played the blacks yesterday.
So our second par 3 we played, still cold outside.
Mm-hmm.
220 to a back pin.
Yeah, it was 190 to ours.
197 yards of carry over water.
Yeah. They got a lot of water carry.
That was my double of the day. I was like in between clubs. I didn't want to go long. I felt like I could still make it over the water with the club I hit and mishit it. And next thing you know, I'm in the lake.
Yeah, that was my first double of the day, was that hole.
But there were a couple par 4s where we got to the back tee box and, Ryan in my group was like, this is a long hole. So that hole that you were just talking about that you had wedge in, our tee box, we were about 5 yards behind the 440 marker.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was like, all right. And like I smoked the drive and I think I still had 9-iron or pitching wedge, and I hit it hard. But like Ryan and Kyle in our group had 7-irons in their hands.
Yep.
So I think I knew what that course entailed from the back tees. I don't think the other 2 in my group really knew what they were getting themselves into.
Probably not. So hole 6 is a short par 4, I believe, on South.
Yeah.
So after the par 3 you were just talking about where we made the doubles, I don't think I've ever laughed harder on a golf course than what happened on that hole.
Oh, I've heard the story.
Okay, so my guy Gunth gets up there. Kind of out of nowhere, he just developed the tops off the tee with driver.
We've seen that.
And, I mean, he hits a hard ground ball to the shortstop, basically. And this thing hits dead square in so they've got these little square house looking tee markers, wooden tee markers.
Yeah.
This thing hits dead square in the center of that thing. And it's like it's in slow motion, I swear to God. The ball is comes back at us, up over our heads, just floating through the air. Not actually in slow motion, but it felt like it. And we turn around, and behind us is the cart path for hole 5, the par 3. And the twosome that was behind us and has already been waiting on us a ridiculous amount, just the way it was playing. I mean, the nexus point of the ball and their cart was way too close for comfort. Gunth described it as the ball, and I didn't see it because I was I think everything just flashed before my eyes in that moment. I was like, he's going to kill a man. He said the ball went between the back of their cart and their clubs.
Oh, Jesus.
And it was just
once everybody was safe, it was funny.
Yeah, it was the silence, the pause of what the fuck just happened, and he almost hit him, and then we realized everything was fine. Tears, dude. Absolute tears. I could not stop laughing.
Well, we saw you guys 2 holes later or something like that, and he was like, I hit it into the lake on 6, and I was like, again, know this course like the back of my hand. I'm like, there's no lake on 6, Gunth. He goes, there is one behind the tee box. And I was like, how does that even happen? And he tells me the story. I'm like, holy shit, that is hilarious. I'm glad everybody's safe. That's what makes it funny. And and honestly, those guys can't even be mad. It's it happens.
They didn't even know it happened. That's the best part. They had no idea they almost died.
There was a lot of that. So, on that same hole that you're talking about, we were up in the left tree line, and there was a threesome on 2 holes before tee box.
Yep.
We're still on our hole. Mind you, we're not over in their hole. We're on our hole. And we're waiting to drive over because we have 2 balls over in that hole where we're okay, we'll wait until they tee off, and we'll kind of stay over here. But I looked at it, Kyle and Ryan, I'm head on a swivel. I see this guy setting up. This has got Waffle House ball coming at us.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, it couldn't have been more than 10 seconds later. This thing is coming right at us. I ducked down in my cart, and it went maybe a foot left of my cart.
Right.
Like heading, this thing was going about 150 miles an hour too. Like it went from the tee box to my cart in what felt like a tenth of a second.
Oh my God.
And so there's a lot of that yesterday, apparently.
Yeah, there was a lot of shenanigans in our group. On the first hole, I left like a 2-foot putt short because I didn't like pick it up and like clean it off in the sand.
Oh, the sand,
and I hit a grain of sand and it just didn't go anywhere. Like the ball just didn't move.
Yeah, when it's sandy out there.
That was sad. And then I think our last hole, Trevin he whiffed and took a divot like a foot behind the ball with driver. And then that was right after Drew got up, and I don't even think houses were in play on this hole. He hit a house. It was that far left.
What hole?
I think it was on 18.
There's houses over there, but they're really far over there.
Yeah, like that's,
I bet those people are like, this is the first golf ball that's ever hit our house.
Yeah, he hit it, and I was like, man, that might hit a house. And then it was like 5 seconds later, you heard the
like
bang. I was like, what the fuck?
Jesus.
So yeah, it was a good time, but honestly, a pretty exhausting between like trying to avoid getting hit by other people's golf balls and then like just the shitty golf that I was playing.
Yeah, I was pretty exhausted after the golf in my group as well. I mean, we had a 97 and a 91.
Yeah.
It was a tough watch.
I was low man with an 83. I think Gunth somewhere. No, he shot 37 on the back, but he shot 48 on the front. And then we had a couple hundreds from the other guys. So
yeah, we just felt like we were looking for golf balls all day.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
All day. I mean, it was brutal.
Yeah.
And it gets like, and look, I love both of the guys I played with, but like I was actually getting off the tee relatively well, other than a couple really loose swings, which I'll talk about here in a second. Like being in the fairway and having to look for 2 balls for 10 minutes was not fun. Like it was not fun at all.
Yeah, the problem in our group was we were looking for all 4 people's balls in most cases.
And that would have gotten old quickly too.
Yeah, it was not good. Not good.
But I've got a case of the waffle. Like I haven't had a left miss in a really long time, and
wow,
it's bad. Like I'm not talking like, oh, it's like a pool. It's a straight snap hook, and I did it twice yesterday with 2 different clubs.
Interesting.
I did it from the fairway from about 230 with a 2-iron in my hand, and I did it off the tee on 10.
Yeah, I got the 2-way big time right now. It's like
I wish it was 2 ways. Like I know how to fix the right ball. The left ball is the one that's I don't know what to do.
I think I'm the opposite. I'm definitely the opposite.
I can tell you, anytime I tee the ball up right now, I'm a nervous wreck.
Same.
Like I hit the tee ball good yesterday, but like I was like after hitting one, I'm like, oh fuck. Like what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Like
I had my 2 shots off the tee were just completely massive block right, or like that low like shut face, just like barely gets like 15 feet off the ground.
Yeah, that's not fun.
Yeah, and goes like 200 yards kind of thing. That's pretty much what I was working with.
I hit 2 of those yesterday. So,
yeah. But all in all, good time. I got to find a way to get a club in my hands between now and the Turkey Open. I can't show up to.
We've got some good golf weather coming up.
I'm gonna have to force it a little bit. Problem is, there's a lot of life happening right now.
Yeah, that's a lot of October. Just feels like it's always chock full of shit going on.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna play Friday. Like I have to. I'm looking at the weather and I'm like, I'm gonna hate myself if I don't play golf over the next 6 days. Because it's just so perfect.
This will be the time. You're right. This is the peak.
And
fall
our course
golf
is like
right now.
really, really, really good right now. It's probably the best I've seen it in 5 years.
Oh well,
it's that good. It is
pretty good.
And I finally won money in our Friday game for the first time. I feel like all summer. I'm still down like what did I say, like $430, and I won $180 on Friday, and I'm still down 430.
That seems bad.
And now I'm like getting texts like, "Hey, can you play Tuesday?" I'm like, "You get one shot, like a week, not two shots to get your money back. This is not how this works." Let's not forget who's still down over the whole summer. So
they're using you as an ATM this summer.
I told them, I said, I told them they're welcome for me taking money on them Friday. I was like, it's tax write-off season. Like, I'm sending you guys 1099s for the summer. Like, this is just knocking the taxable income down a little bit.
Yeah, your charitable donations.
Yeah.
Really. All right, do you want to go best thing in golf or worst thing in golf? Because we have a contender for worst this week.
We can do worst in golf first.
Ryder Cup prices. Have you seen all the news around this?
It's funny. You're going the ticket route. We'll talk about that. It's stupid expensive, and it's going to completely negate the home field advantage that we have because you're going to get people in there that they're not the New York sports fans that we're expecting to be there.
Yeah, your LACC takes might be rehashed.
Yeah,
at the People's Club.
Yeah, it's and the practice rounds too. I think the practice rounds are like $400 something a ticket.
I think it's $250 for the 2 practice rounds. Then there's the Thursday where they have like some celebrity stuff and Junior Ryder Cup's like $400 something, and then each of the tournament days is $750. General admission.
Miss.
General admission.
It's a gigantic miss.
I mean,
so my worst in golf was going to be that event, but the volunteer prices.
I know I had that down too.
$350 to be a volunteer.
Yeah, well, when you add in credit card processing and taxes, it's $392.
I mean, that's just a miss. That's the only thing you can say about it.
Yeah,
it's a miss.
So we've got, let's see.
And we should have saw it coming because we went to the PGA Championship this year, which is run by the same organization. The tickets were hefty for that too. They were pretty hefty.
Nothing like this, though.
Not like this, but they were hefty.
Yeah. All right, so at $750 per ticket, 2025 Ryder Cup at Bethpage Black will have the most expensive get-in price for a golf tournament in recorded history, and it's a 581% price increase over the 2019 PGA Championship that was held there.
God.
Like, that's unreal.
Just, here's what we should say. Just tell all the poor people you don't want them to come to your events. Like, I mean, just say it like that, because that's what you're essentially saying when you make prices like that. Like, we are trying to make this unaffordable for 99% of the fans. I mean, that's essentially what you're doing.
I mean, the whole thing is going to be an exercise in price gouging. Like, everything surrounding the event now, like, think about how much people can charge if, like, they want to rent their place or, like, have parking or whatever. All the food and stuff surrounding the area.
I'm really hoping the fans just say F you and don't buy the tickets. But I know that's not going to happen. They're going to sell, and they're going to sell to the people that you don't want in the crowd as far as like for a home field advantage. It's just a gigantic miss from the PGA of America.
Yeah, so Ryder Cup director, his name's Brian Carnes, had a quote in golf.com. The general price is indicative of A, this market, and B, where we position ourselves where we feel like we are in the greater sports landscape, and C, the demand. I think when you get into a situation where the demand is so high, you want to do your best to price it so you don't create a massively inflated secondary market. I mean, the base like price of the ticket kind of sets like
So what he's saying is we don't want the secondary market to make the money. We want to make the money ourselves. So let's just say it just call it what it is. We don't want the StubHubs and the SeatGeeks of the world to make that money. We're just going to charge it ourselves. Is essentially what he's saying.
Yeah, and when he was referring to like where they are in the sports landscape, I think later in the interview he says something about how they look at themselves as like NBA Finals or World Series level sporting event. I'm like, man, okay. Right. Besides
the fact that if you pay $750 to get into an NBA Finals game, you're at least going to be able to view the court the entire game. From what I've heard about Ryder Cup viewing, every single hole, because they're on 5 holes, right? Or 4 holes.
Exactly.
You're 20 to 25 deep in the crowd.
Or if you're going to get a grandstand spot, like you probably are sitting there before
You're
people are even
missing
there.
60% of the match.
You're essentially watching it on a TV somewhere out there anyway. Like
Everybody, I was sad I missed out on the Whistling Straits Ryder Cup.
yeah,
But everybody I've heard talk about it, they're like, trust me, the viewing experience is 1,000 times better on TV.
which is a tough scene with how the viewing experience can be.
I mean, it's hard in general just because
see.
you have, like, everybody's going to be on 4 holes, right? So it's already tough. It's still a miss. There's no way around it. Like, you got to know what your product is. And based on everything I've heard from people, that product is not worth that.
I mean, I would think so.
The only thing you can say is like, oh, I was there. Oh, congratulations. You paid $750 for one day.
Right.
I mean, that's really all you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, you could go to any other tournament and have like probably a way better viewing experience or overall experience even.
Yeah.
Plus, like I said, you're going to pay that much. We know the logistics in New York are going to be god awful. Like getting around, staying places, like it's all going to be
like think of this, right? That's 3 Bengals games in the club seats where you have a waiter deliver you stuff.
Right. Yeah, this is just general admission. This isn't like hospitality
like that,
or meals
think
or
about
drinks
it that
or,
way.
yeah.
And like the NFL is taking some bullets for being like some of the most unaffordable sporting events to go to. And think of that. Like that's 3 tickets to sit in club seat where you have a waiter bring you food. Now you have to buy that food, but I'm just saying like you have a waiting service with the like 3 games, not 1 game, 3.
Right.
So like when you put it in that perspective, it's like that's insane. Like that price is insane.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. They've gotten a ton of backlash for this, so I don't expect them to make any changes.
Oh,
but
they're not because they're going to sell. Like it's New York, right? Wall Street. Like there's just more money floating around there, so you're going to have people buy them. Now, if that was like, for instance, Whistling Straits, like Wisconsin, that would be tough.
Yeah.
Like not, and this is not a knock against Wisconsin. It's just New York City is not that far away, and you have Wall Street, and you have more of a pool of people that are going to spend that money on a ticket like that.
Yeah, a place like Whistling Straits is
like you get it in the Midwest, or Midwest. It's like there's just a less of a pool of people that are going to pay that price.
For sure. Okay, well, away from that, on to the best that you saw in golf this week.
Yeah, so mine is, I guess it's sad, but it's like also it makes you feel good after hearing stuff like this. So Jay Card III was in Q school this week, obviously fighting for a job, right? I don't want it to sound like another tournament. And it's like, oh, this happened in another tournament. Like this is his livelihood. Playing in Q school, didn't play well the first round. Like played okay, but not great. Was talking to his dad on the phone, pulls up the scoreboard, realizes that the score online is a shot lower than what he actually shot.
Oh, no.
And he turned himself in immediately, realized that they had him marked down for a 3. He actually had a 4 on one of the holes, DQs himself.
Oh.
And I say that in saying that, like, there's like 0.5% of people that would do that.
Yeah, I mean, golf is supposed to be built
but
on
it like goes, yeah,
the
it's
honor
like,
system, right?
It goes back to like, this is a gentleman's game. And it's like, he could have easily just been like, oh, well, like one shot, like this is my livelihood. I'm not turning myself in. He could have and frankly, it makes you think how many people have done that, right?
I'm sure, yeah.
Like, oh shit, I'm inside the cut line right now. Like, I can't do that. Like, especially Q school of all things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like you're literally fighting for a job. So while sad, I really hope that he's got good karma coming his way for doing that and stepping up. And it makes you feel good. That, like, I mean, it sucks, but it makes you feel good of like, okay, like like golf is still golf. Not charging $750 for tickets.
Yeah, that's
like it makes you feel good. Like it sucks, but it like makes you feel good that there like people still invest in like what this game really means.
Right. Yeah, hopefully the golf gods give him one back on that.
I hope so.
Something good from the universe will come.
Just a random fact about him, and when I was reading about it, he's an opera singer too. It's kind of cool. So I hope Jay has good karma from here on out for doing that.
For sure. Big shout out on that. That's I mean, tough. That's truly tough.
It's tough, but it's like I say it's good because it's like there's been stories this year of like professional golfers that are like egregiously cheating. There's been obviously the Patrick Reed stuff with the sand. It's like you have all that stuff, and it's like this guy who has not made millions of dollars is turning himself in. So for signing for a lower score.
Yeah.
And just so you know, like having played in the professional tournament this year, like very low key professional tournament, professional golfers are the worst at keeping people score. Just like,
oh yeah, dude.
Love the guys I played with. They're so involved in what they're doing.
Exactly. That's what
they have zero like awareness of like what you are actually making.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Yeah, I mean, stuff like that has to happen all the time.
I just remember getting a scores table and like 5 of my scores being wrong. Like it's like never have had this happen in an amateur tournament. But I mean, look, they're playing for their job, right? Like so, like worrying about me making a 4 or 5 is like so low on their list of things that they're worrying about on the golf course.
Yeah,
so
absolutely. All right, best thing in golf I saw this week: Scotty Scheffler on College Game Day.
Yeah, that was cool. And his green jacket.
Yeah, and the green jacket. And obviously Miami is playing at Louisville. He has to make a pick on the game. So for anyone who missed it, he picked Miami, but he goes, not to bring anything personal into this with Louisville. Great city, love the people, but Miami's going to smoke them. And it was just a really funny moment. Scotty, like, the more you see him, is like one of those guys that it's like, okay, he's not like...
He's not a machine.
Yeah, he like comes off a little bit as a machine, and like, you know, he's got the Christian thing, and you know, he's real like he seems
comes
a little
off
dry.
Yeah,
but the more you see him, I think he's like kind of the guy.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah,
that was funny though. I remember, I didn't see it live. I just saw it, and I was like, oh shit, Scotty just took a shot at Louisville, and I'm like, now I gotta watch it. So I like went back and watched it. It was for him like low key, very dry, funny, but it was like it hit.
Yeah,
for the people that knew what it meant, it hit.
Right.
Like,
so yeah, that was a cool moment.
So I saw someone was like the 2 coolest moments with green jackets, like outside of like obviously the presentation. It was like Sergio wore his at his wedding, and then this at game day. I was like, I think that probably checks out actually.
Yeah, unfortunately for Scotty, the Longhorns lost, but
yeah, that was a brutal game, brutal football to watch, but
yeah. So yeah, there's what we saw in golf this week. NFL update time. We are so currently. How are your Ravens doing over there?
It's 14-10 Ravens.
Wow, they made a pretty big comeback since we started here.
They did, and I'm pretty sure Mark Andrews just scored a second touchdown.
Oh God.
So there's that.
Well, the good news is you're above 500 for the first time this year, and it looks like you could be on the way to being 2 games above 500.
Yeah.
You're at 20-19. So far, your team is 3-2 this week. The Ravens, obviously, playing right now. My team was 3-2 this week, and I had the Cowboys on bye, which is good, so they couldn't hurt my feelings again. So, we had a couple head-to-head matchups.
We did. Chiefs, 49ers.
My Chiefs took down your 49ers. What was the other one? Oh, your Packers beat my Texans.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the other head-to-head
for you.
Yep.
So I'm sitting at 26-13. Like I said, you're at 20-19, could be 21-19, but tightening up a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, the 49ers got on a little bit of a roll and lost this week, but they've kind of come back. But then the Packers, you know, they're 5-2 now.
Yeah.
Kind of carrying my picks here.
Yeah, you've got the Packers 5-2, Eagles 4-2, Ravens looking like they could get to 5-2. So you've got a little stable there of teams that are putting you on their back.
But the Jags won this week, though.
Jags got to win. They beat the Patriots. The Dolphins inexplicably losing to the Colts. Like, that was tough. I mean, I guess it's not inexplicable because they don't have a quarterback right now. But
yeah,
I think they gave up 13 unanswered to the Colts to lose that one.
Yep.
Yeah, and then over on my side, we'll get to the Bengals in a bit, but they pick up a win against the Browns. Lions continue to look awesome.
Look like a steamroll. I mean, they're looking like the team that I think everybody thought we were going to see in the beginning of the year.
Yeah. The Chiefs, if we want to talk Chiefs Niners, the Niners have nobody left. Ayuk blew his knee out yesterday.
Yeah, they
Debo's in the hospital right now with pneumonia. I think Kittle is also hurt currently. They might finally be getting caught up with the Super Bowl loser curse here.
Yeah. I mean, and then it's just with those guys out, it's like you don't have a quarterback that's like, hey, we're going to throw guys in here and he's going to make them better. It's just they just don't have that. Yeah, regardless of the system.
The system does require parts. It requires good machinery, right?
Good surrounding cast for sure. And if they don't have that, it just doesn't run the same.
Yeah, so that's looking a little tough. The Chiefs continue to just win ugly, but that's all that matters for them right now.
And it just blows my mind that everybody's like Patrick Mahomes is the leading MVP candidate, and it's just like, look, he's deserved it a lot in other years. The way they're winning games, it's not because of him. Mm-mm. And you think about it, most valuable player. It's not. Chris Jones on their team is the most valuable player on their roster. I mean, the defense, a heartbeat starts with him. It starts there. It starts and ends with him. So, but I'm like, they're winning ugly, but they just keep winning. It's scary to me if Patrick Mahomes finally starts playing well. It's and they have that defense. It's not looking great for everybody else.
No, it's a massive problem.
Because this is kind of how their year started out last year. Now they're winning those games that they kind of lost in the beginning last year.
Right.
But last year you're like, this team's broken. They're losing games they should be winning. And then all of a sudden their offense kind of picked it up a little bit and their defense was good still. It's kind of shaping up like that again, where it's like their offense is going to find their footing and then it could be problems for everybody.
Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how their season develops. Talk to me about the Texans, because Chris Stroud only had 80 yards yesterday. What?
So I think this is a coming out for the Packers defense.
Yeah.
I don't think he played. It's kind of one of those things. Did he beat himself or did the other team beat him? I genuinely think that it was just the Packers defense is good. They're really, really, really good. And, they don't have Nico Collins right now. That does hurt him. Tank Dell's good.
Yeah.
But, Nico's really good. He's a big part of what they do. But I really, and, they have Diggs, but he's definitely on the backside of his career. And you could tell that yesterday. He got strapped down pretty good. He's just not that guy that's from 5 years ago where it's it doesn't matter. He's going to go out and get his touches. He's not that guy anymore. So I think that cost him a little bit. I mean, if they didn't have Joe Mixon yesterday, they lose that game by 30. I mean, he there for a while was the team total outside of Joe Mixon was 40 yards, and he had 90 yards rushing.
God. So
he had double the yards of everybody else. So, but I think more of it's the Packers defense is really good.
Yeah, we can jump into your Packers now, because I saw a stat today where I was just looking at EPA per play, and it was just a chart of the offense and defense. I think the Packers might have been the only team that had both units in the top 10. They're seventh in each. I mean, I just think the roster is just really good.
It is good.
Just really, really good.
The defensive side of the ball, it feels like some of those first-round draft picks are kind of starting to materialize a little bit. But, dude, Jordan Love, some of the throws he made yesterday, not a lot of guys that can make those throws. His touchdown to Tucker Kraft was sick. I mean, it was I've seen it 150 times now. He looks off the safety for a half a second.
Yeah.
And then throws a bullet down the seam. And the guy, I mean, we're talking inches from getting picked off or inches from a touchdown. He made some throws yet. And his best throw yesterday was dropped. It was a no look, 40-yard bomb down the right side that gets dropped, like in the bucket, dropped. But like he's kind of coming to his own. He seems to be getting healthy. Like they may not win the division just because it's so good, but they will be in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I would imagine at this point, like it seems like both of the wild cards will come from that division, is my guess. Even if Minnesota slips a little bit back to what they probably are,
right?
I still think they're good enough to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, there's 3 wild cards too, so
yeah, you
could conceivably have 3.
I think the Bears, they've some of these divisional games are going to be tough for them.
Yeah, I'm curious just to see how it kind of shakes out because there's
like they haven't played the Packers yet. They have played the Lions. They lost that game. I don't think they played the Vikings yet either. Once, and they played them twice, right? So I think there's going to be some divisional games that are going to kind of bring them back down. But, if they just pick the games, if they pick off the games they should win, they might, they can conceivably be 10-7 and get the other wild card.
Yeah. So for Packers' upcoming schedule, you got at the Jags, so you're getting a win or a loss there, I guess. But then you're hosting the Lions before a bye. And out of the bye, at Bears, and then hosting the Niners. So after that Jags game, a little bit of a key NFC divisional and NFC.
Yeah, because right now they're 0-1 in the division.
Yeah,
they lost to the Vikings. But yeah, there's after the Jags, it feels like that's going to be a game that's like, okay, you get to 6-2, and it's like, all right, like time to man up. You could be 6-6 after this stretch, or I think a good run for them would be 2-2 in that stretch, and that puts them at what, like 8-4. So
yeah, I mean, if they win that game against the Lions, like that's what 7-2, and you're at least tied for the division lead.
Yeah,
like
yep.
Yeah. So that's
big stretch coming up here
definitely.
After the Jags.
So the Bengals, Joe Burrow gets his first win in Cleveland.
Which is a wild stat. I just can't believe that's taken this long. But.
Yeah, definitely an odd one there. Also, them being 0-3 at home this year, I guess I just didn't realize that.
Yeah. Not a lot of wins at home.
Just really weird. Really weird 3-4 for them right now. I said last week, like, I still don't love everything that's happening. Obviously, they botched the start of the season, but like, losing to the Ravens in overtime doesn't look horrible, even though it happened in a horrible way. Losing to the Commanders after what they're doing doesn't look as bad as you thought it was at the time.
Something doesn't feel right.
I don't know.
It's like a gut feeling, and it's nothing that a stat could point to. It's just like a gut feeling of like, it just feels like every week's a house of cards.
Yeah, I mean, I'm at the point now where they just need wins. So I'm like, whatever, just get the wins. I don't care. Like I'll still be annoyed by stuff just as a fan, right? Like I'm always going to have something, but just keep winning and then we'll just see what happens is kind of where I'm at. But honestly, I felt the way what you're saying earlier in the year than I do right now. Right now, I'm kind of like buying into the Joe Burrow is a winner. Just let him do his thing. He's going to win. The numbers, if he needs to throw for 500 yards and 5 touchdowns, he can do that. If he needs to throw for 201 or whatever, he can do that. I don't care. Just put some W's in the columns and we'll see where it shakes out.
What I mean by like every week feels like a house of cards is every week it feels like you don't know what you're going to get. As far as like the defense seems like but they've also like look at who they played.
Yeah, the last 2 games, kind of the worst.
Not exactly offensive juggernauts that they're out there doing this against. But then it's like the offense had their struggles yesterday. But I mean, I guess Cleveland does have a decent defense, but I don't know. But I saw a stat. It was like they get their leads by throwing the ball, and then they back off from throwing the ball. Now, I get that. Like, you have a lead, but at the same time, like, the NFL is all about putting games away. And when you have, like, 11, 12 minutes left on the clock, like, you got to put the game away. Do what got you there and throw the ball still.
It's kind of what we were talking about last week, where I'm feeling like Zach Taylor doesn't dictate the game, right? He reacts to the game.
Yeah, and he gets like, oh, okay, we're up 2 scores with 12 minutes left. Like, let's just start pounding the ball. And it's like, that's a quick way to let a team is like, one quick score, and it's like, all right, now it's a 1-score game, right? And that changes the game pressure completely. Now you go back to throwing the ball because you kind of have to. You got to get first down. So it's like, again, yeah, he's like reacting to the game. It's like, all right, let's just milk this clock down. And then next thing you know, it's like, oh shit, it's like a 1-score game now. And then you have to go back. So the game flow is like dictating how he calls plays, not the other way around.
Yeah, and there's Orlando Brown went down yesterday with an injury. Sounds like somebody called it like tennis calf. I've never heard of that. I've heard tennis elbow, obviously, but like I don't know, some kind of calf tendonitis, which I guess is going around these days. But that he's like week to week with that. I don't know. That's not good because
that's not great.
Cody Ford's the backup, and I think he had like a single-digit pass block grade yesterday. So that ain't
not
good.
Great.
So I don't know. There's some things that are kind of weird, but like this against the Eagles, a team with a good record that has a ton of talent, but also a lot of people see as flawed. You get them at home. Feels like one you have. I mean, obviously you have to win, but like, I don't know. I think this would show more about the team or about the Bengals than the last 2 games have, obviously.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like a gut, like I said, probably no stats out there to back it up. It just gut feeling just feels like even the team gets out there and they're like, all right, what's going to happen today? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I could see that. Yeah.
Like in the years past with Joe Burrow, it's like, okay, you know what you're going to get out of him. You know what you're going to, get out of like your defensive line. It's like, it just feels like it's like every week. It's like, all right, like someone that was dependable, like, are they who's going to have a bad game today? You know what I mean? And I don't know. It just, that's what it feels like. Again, it's gut feeling, not anything that probably shows up on paper.
Yeah. All right. Well, still feel better today than I did last week, so that's good. 3-4. I took a look at the standings, and I'm kind of like, God damn, how are the Colts 4-3? You got all these teams, and the Steelers beat the shit out of the Jets last night. Russell Wilson, there's a lot of bad stuff going on out there.
I was sad I sent the perfect reel over on Instagram that someone posted today about Aaron Rodgers, and I got no reactions out of it. It was the scene from
yeah, I watched it.
He's like, it's not them. It's not me. It's them.
Yeah.
It's like
Ben Stiller.
And it's got like Devontae Adams in the background, like the defensive coordinator for the Jets. And so
yeah. That was pretty good. So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of ugly in the AFC, but still Bengals are looking up at some teams that you would hope would fall back a little bit. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it always have like some of these teams that have like last place schedules, right? Like some of their schedules are front loaded with easier matchups. So teams that start out well start coming back, especially like divisional games. The cream starts to rise to the top.
Yeah.
In some divisions, the AFC South is just trash. I mean, it's just absolute.
I was shook when I saw the Colts had a winning record. I had no idea.
There should be firings if Houston doesn't win that division.
Yeah, yeah, seriously.
Like, it doesn't get much easier than what they have.
Yeah, no doubt. All right. NFL chat for the week. Fan mail time related to this. Hinkle.
Yeah. By the way, I've never heard the one that he submitted.
Yeah, so
like I shouldn't say that. I've heard of it. I've never personally experienced it.
So first thing, before we get to that, he was venting about his Cowboys. His message goes, Dallas sucks, McCarthy and staff suck, Dak sucks, CD's a crybaby, I'm rooting for complete collapse.
I mean, you do get to a certain point in the season, and like, especially in their situation where you got guys coming up on contract, you're kind of just like, I mean, what can we trade away to get some draft picks?
Yeah.
I feel that.
I mean, I get why they paid Dak, but like, that's a lot of money for a guy that's never won. Have they won a playoff game with him yet? Maybe one?
One. Yeah, weren't they? They were
I think
part of that.
They won one, and then they got trounced by San Fran or something after.
Yeah,
that.
they were. It was the Lions game where they went for 2.
That's right. Yeah,
they won that game.
Yep.
Which I still think leads to why Dan Campbell just hates the Cowboys.
God, dude, I saw.
It has nothing to do with the Cowboys. It was like a ref thing, but
I saw like the Lions post game celebration and game ball or whatever after this Vikings win. I was like, dude, Dan Campbell just rocks.
He's like the guy that's like you wish he was your coach.
Football guy.
And I love Matt LaFleur, but part of me is like kind of wanted Dan Campbell on the sidelines too. I mean,
it's just so good. So yeah, that was Hinkle's first text. He sent in a second one in response to our like conversation about like work jargon and stuff like that. He says he works with a guy who sends him 6 to 7 emails a day that start off, no action required. Great, I'll just swipe left and delete.
I mean, if I saw an email like that, I would 100% do the same thing.
It's appropriate response for sure.
Like, no action, then you could have called me with all of these and just said, hey, just for your information.
Yeah.
Not 6 different emails. That
insane. To me feels like somebody is just trying to like prove that they're doing something.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
It's like, here, I'm sending this just so you know that I'm actually...
It's like information overload for stuff that you don't need to know.
Absolutely. And then the other message we got in was from our boy Gunth. I totally forgot. We talked about injuries, like dumb ways to get hurt last week, and I had forgotten that this happened to me. And he wrote in and said, I feel like I've heard an injury story about you at Pebble Creek, headshot from a snap hook tee shot, ? Totally forgot this happened to me. So got to be like 10 years at this point. I was playing in the Corian Booster outing. We used to play in that all the time. But in this case, somebody reached out to me. They had, I guess, NovaCare, like the health partner or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
They had purchased a foursome and they only had 2 players. So my dad and I joined their team. We're like, we'll go play. It's free spots. So Pebble Creek, local course around here. Sorry for anybody that doesn't know it, but for those of you that do, holes 13 and 14.
Yeah.
13 is a downhill par 3 before a pond. 14, the tee box is actually like kind of right next to the tee box on 13 to a green that is like on the other side of the pond. It's a par 4 doglegs around it.
Yes.
So we hit our tee shots. So we're on the par 3. We're in 13. My dad's driving. I'm in the passenger seat. We're going down the hill. And honestly, I don't really remember necessarily exactly what happened. But like I heard it. Golf ball hits me. If you like reach behind your ear right now and you feel like that kind of hard ass bone, it's like right back there.
Yep.
I got square hit in that bone.
Holy shit!
Someone it was a football coach, had snap hooked one off that tee, and it went through the back of our cart. Thank God it hit the top of the back of our cart first.
Took some juice.
So
it
took a little bit of the speed off. But my dad said I just yelled "fuck" and like passed out, and. God bless my dad. He was like, it was almost like you were JFK. It's like you just like slumped, like just.
Oh.
And he like, so my dad was like holding me up in the golf cart as we drive down. Best part of the story, if you remember, I said
like weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah, and I guess I came to like within that drive. I remember being back awake or whatever, and I was like, "What the hell? Like this hurts really. What is going on? It's things swelling up like crazy." But luckily going out and wasn't caved in. The funniest part is, like, if you remember the beginning of the story, we were playing with the health partners of the school. So I'm playing with 2 athletic trainers.
So they should know about head injuries.
I get out to the green and, because they heard it, I guess, or saw kind of what happened, and the guy gives me a concussion test on the green. I passed the concussion test.
So no concussion, you just got squared up.
I just got squared up, and the thing was like swelling all day long, just like getting bigger and bigger. My ears like start, you know what I mean? Like, but I played the rest of the round. Played all right, but like just crazy that actually happened.
Golf ball to the head is not fun. I've been hit with a golf ball.
Dude, it hurt so bad.
8th grade golf. I was Green Hills par 3. I had all their tee boxes were like directly past the greens. This kid just smoked one, carried the pine trees. Hit, same thing, right? Like out of nowhere, no 4, no nothing. Bam. It's like I fell to the ground and some kid, I was like, what just hit me? I had no idea. And he's like, oh, these walnuts are falling out of the tree. I'm like, okay, if that was a walnut coming down from a tree, like, that was like gravity is somehow stronger now.
Sir Isaac Newton messed up. We got to recalculate some stuff.
I was like, and then we find out, like, kid walks up and he's like, oh, like, did you guys see a ball come over? I'm like, yeah, I think it hit me in the head.
Oh my God.
And like, I did not finish the round. The coach was like, no, we can't have you out here.
Yeah.
It's too much of a liability. And like, I ended up going to the hospital. I did have a concussion, actually. It hit me on the top of the head.
Oh, that's brutal. Yeah, mine, like I said, hitting that really hard bone. It didn't break skin, nothing, but that thing swelled. So It must have been like
So I still have
2 or
like
3
a
weeks.
little bit of a bump there where I got hit. It's right here. Like
Yeah.
it's like I think it's just scar tissue.
Oh man. Yeah, so that happened to me. That's definitely probably the worst or the funniest way that I got hurt.
Yeah, golf ball to the head's not fun.
Yeah. And
Not fun.
Also to this day, I'm thankful that it hit me and not my dad. My dad is on lifelong blood thinners for blood clots.
that
and
would not
stuff.
have been good.
If it would have hit him, we could have had a serious medical situation.
Yeah, no shit.
So
God,
thankfully
dang.
it hit me, and if it had hit one of us, it was me, I guess. So yeah, thank you, Gun, for reminding me of that happened to me. And with that, I think it's time to go to the patio.
Yeah, I went first last week.
Okay, I got a sports related one for you. Saw again, as I often do, saw this somewhere online. Pretty good Twitter thread of people with their answers. Somebody posed the question: if you had to go back through, like, you could pick whatever your team is in this scenario, but through your favorite team's history and take one player from the history and put them at their like peak of their career on the roster now, like what team and what player would it be?
There's so many good ones.
You've got a lot more than I do, but
Like if Jordan Love didn't pan out, I'd be like, hey, I want Aaron Rodgers circa 2010 back on this roster. You know what I mean?
Him with this like core receivers, it would be very similar to the Super Bowl year.
But Jordan Love's good, so we'll leave that one out. I guess I would probably say like, I don't know, like Barry Larkin on this roster would be legit. Like he's just unbelievable. I mean, there's got to be a better one than that though.
You want to put Anthony Davis on UK?
So I was thinking about that, but the system they run now with Mark Pope, he wouldn't fit great. Actually,
Oh my God,
no, he wouldn't. No, like it's a 3-point shooting.
I get what you're saying.
System,
but
like it's just they don't play with a guy that back to the basket like he
Yeah.
played in college, right? Like thinking of how he played in college. So, I mean, and it's tough to tell like what Kentucky's going to be this year. They'll be okay, but it seems like it'd be a waste. You know, what I
Right.
mean? It could be a waste. Man, I'm just there's.
I'll give you one for me with the Bengals. Like, I thought for a minute, like, okay, yeah, of course, let's take like Anthony Munoz or like Willie Anderson, like put like a legitimate tackle on the roster. But I think the answer would be Geno Atkins. Like prime Geno
He was
is
good.
exactly what this defense needs. Like,
Yeah, they need that
like
force.
they need their Chris Jones, right?
Yeah.
I would love to see Geno against like this era of
like
the Chiefs.
prime Geno was really, really, really
Put him
good.
on there with Trey right now, and-
especially just because it's such a need for them right now.
exactly. I think that would be my answer.
Okay, so I'm gonna go. I think this is what I'm gonna go. I would love to see Troy Smith playing for Ohio State right now
Ooh. Ooh.
with the wide receivers that they have.
Yeah.
It would be pretty good. You can argue all you want. Like I've been in so many arguments with Ohio State fans about, who the best quarterback's been in like the last 25 years, and it all comes back down to this. They're like, oh, CJ Stroud. CJ was great at Ohio State. All these guys, Dwayne Haskins, as bad as he was in the NFL, rest in peace.
Yeah. R.I.P.
He was great in college, but there's, to me, as someone that grew up and really like that was right before that's when my Ohio State fandom kind of took off, and Troy Smith, and it always comes down to this: he never lost to Michigan, and he won a Heisman,
Yeah.
and that's all you need to know.
Tough to beat.
Like all those other guys they either never lost. Like JT Barrett was good. Like he never lost to Michigan, but he doesn't have a Heisman. So looking at that and his ability to run and stuff like that was always
when they most recently won the title, was that Cardell Jones?
yeah.
So yeah, like even all these guys that you had, it wasn't like you got tremendous playoff
Yeah, now
success.
Troy Smith didn't win a national championship, but you could argue like that, like 2014.
But he was the Heisman winning quarterback.
2014, that roster would dominate the one that he played on, right? Like there were
14 guys that got drafted in like the first 5 rounds of the NFL draft on those teams. So it's kind of one of those things is like that team had more talent. But I think that would be it. Troy Smith playing on this roster right now with the wide receivers that they have would be a real treat.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
Like he threw to Ted Ginn, he had Santonio Holmes, but like he didn't have like this level. Like love those guys to death. They both had pretty good NFL careers, but like he was throwing touchdowns to Alex Gonzalez. You know what I mean? Like God love Alex Gonzalez, one of my top 10 Buckeyes in the time that I've been alive. Like he's a U.S. congressman now. You know what I mean? Like, it's all we always kid about. Like in college, it's like, oh, he was throwing alley oops to milkmen. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
That's literally like outside of some like one really good wide receiver. Troy Smith never had like the stable of wide receivers that they have now.
Yeah. I think if I'm thinking runner up wise, it looks like UC basketball could be a little frisky this year. And if you put like a prime Kenyon Martin
yes,
or like a Steve Logan on that team, you just had like one of those like real dominant.
Or just leaders, you know what I mean? Steve Logan was like such a good point guard.
Yeah. But if they had a dude like Kmart out there, I think
it would be pretty good.
I know the game's different, but I still think.
Yeah, but like he was just so good.
Yeah.
Like,
and he was such an elite rim protector.
And he didn't spend that much time in the NBA for not being good, right? Like,
exactly.
Yeah, that would be, I think, like Kenyon Martin on this team, because I think they are going to be, like, they're going to surprise some people this year. They were on the list of, like, 10 dark horses for a Final Four run. They were on that list.
Yeah.
They smoked Ohio State in a scrimmage recently.
Yeah, that one.
And, like,
that
Ohio
Mitchell
State's, like, not going to be bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's...
Yeah,
they're going to be frisky. So a Kmart on this team would be pretty legit,
yeah,
I think.
I think so, too.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any other ones. Like, I mean, like, I love Amon Green at Green Bay. Like, Josh Jacobs good, but Amon Green was really good. I wouldn't hate to see, like, I'm not saying you got to get rid of Josh Jacobs. I would just love to see Amon Green on the Packers right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, other than that, like, I don't, like, nothing like flashes out. I mean, you could say like a Tayshaun Prince on this Kentucky team with the system they're going to run with the 3-point shooting, and that would be pretty fun, I think. So that's the only one I can think of.
Yeah, I was trying to think of a good Reds one. It's like, I don't know.
It's so hard with baseball because, like, okay, Barry Larkin playing shortstop, while it would be fun and he would make them better, it's also like, does it make them a playoff team? Probably not. Like, you know what I mean? Like, shortstop.
Yeah, and it's like Ellie plays shortstop too, so it's like,
I mean, like, I'm trying to think of like,
we don't have like a super elite pitching in our history. I mean, Jose Rio is probably like one of the more famous.
Probably, yeah. I was gonna say him.
I don't know. We need like a sick closer, maybe. That'd be fun.
Danny Grace.
Dude, like...
I'm just, obviously a joke, but...
Aroldis Chapman was so fun.
And honestly, like, for a while, he was an elite closer. Like,
yeah.
Like, he would have, like, one game where, like, someone would turn on his fastball and hit it 800,000 feet. But for the most part, like, he came in and closed games down. Like...
Yeah.
It would be fun to have him because we've struggled to kind of find a closer. I mean,
having a prime Joey Votto again would be fun. Kind of sucks that we wasted basically the whole career there, but
yeah, and he doesn't get the respect around here because of the contract and people hating that. But like, I think in 20 years, people are gonna be like, we had like one of the best hitters in baseball.
Yeah.
In Cincinnati, and all we could do is bitch about how we're paying him $100 million.
Right.
Like, Joey's hitting 330 this year. $100 million contract doesn't do us any good. Like, he also won like our only MVP we've had in like forever.
Right. And he was also a Gold Glover too. Like, it wasn't like he was a liability out there.
That would be fun though to have like a Joey Votto on this team, like a prime Joey Votto.
Yeah, 2010 through 2012.
Again, that is a position on this current team that's like they kind of don't have like a first baseman playing first base. It's kind of like.
Yeah.
hey, we like his bat, so he's playing first base.
And they've got a lot of like, I don't know, kind of like streakier bats. I guess like they don't have like an elite just like
hitter
like
I almost said like a Pete Rose, like a guy that's like,
yeah,
they don't have, it doesn't feel like they have, like you said, a guy that's like, okay, this guy's going to get on base 2 or 3 times a game. They don't have that.
Yeah.
And they like just don't feel like they have like a grinder, like a clubhouse guy that's like, he's going to push everybody to be better, like they've had on some of their good teams.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be pretty fun to watch too.
Yeah. All right.
That was a good question.
Thank you.
Where did you see that? You said on Twitter?
Yeah, somewhere on Twitter.
Twitter's a good source for questions like that.
Those are, like when you get those threads like that going, that's when Twitter is like still good.
Yeah.
You know.
I always like the ones where I see is like, you know, name of like an obscure basketball player that's played on your team that doesn't get the respect that they deserved.
Yeah.
And then like you just see people posting pictures like, oh shit, I forgot about that guy. Like, you know.
Oh yeah.
I think one was like, name a player that felt like they were at your school forever. And like 90,000 people put the guy from Kansas basketball. what was his name? God, I can't think of his name now. But he was only there for 5 years, and we kid because now people stay in college for like 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, why can't I think of that guy?
But dude, he was on there for, it felt like he was there for 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
It was, but I always like threads like that because they're fun.
Yeah, there's nothing better. That's honestly what makes like sports fandom. Half of it is that, right?
Like you remember just like random guys.
Yeah, everyone has like a couple of those guys from their teams where it's like you just have like whatever you really like the player while they were here and they were, you know.
Yeah, it's
like the deep cuts only.
It is deep cuts, yeah, for sure. So mine comes from a discussion I had last week. It's about golf superstitions. What is the most, I guess, awkward or weird or like what you felt over the top golf superstition you've ever seen?
Man. Honestly, I feel like I don't see many of those.
Really?
Like, I think if you would have asked me this like closer to like high school, I probably would have had a good answer or a couple answers for you. I don't know. I don't feel like there's that many superstitions as much as like people just like either do something weird or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, it doesn't have to be a superstition, but like, well, when I golf, I do this.
Yeah.
Like, I have to do this.
I don't know. Give me an example.
So, like, I have to have 3 dots on my ball.
Okay.
I've always done that. I've always had 3 dots on my ball.
Yeah.
Prior to kids. Now I'm like, oh, it's like, because I have 3 kids, I put 3 dots on it. Like, I've always just, it's always been my thing. Like, that's how I mark my ball.
Yeah.
I've always marked my ball that way.
I mean, it's something that I do is like, I always keep my tees and divot tool and all that in my right front pocket.
I think that's normal, though.
Usually,
right?
I usually don't really have anything in my left.
Does anybody put shit in their left? Like, if they're a right-handed golfer?
If I'll throw a ball in there.
To me, that would seem weird.
If I'm going to a tee box where I'm like, I'm not hitting driver great and there's trouble, like I'll bring an extra ball and it'll be in my left pocket.
But I was just thinking of like, if
but I
you're
don't keep
left-handed,
anything
you're
there.
left-hand dominant. So like you're going to have it in your left pocket. If you're right-handed, you're probably right-hand dominant.
Yeah.
So you're like going to reach in with your dominant hand.
Definitely. Yep.
So like I saw one about Sahith. He apparently like a year ago or 2 years ago started struggling with a 7-iron. So he had, I think he's with Ping, if I'm not mistaken. He had the manufacturers put 2 8-irons in his bag, but one of them's cranked down to a 7-iron.
Just so you didn't have to look at the 7.
Yeah.
How's he tell the difference?
There's a way. I think one had like a little notch at the end and the other one didn't. But like he does that.
Interesting.
Like I know people that like have used the same ball marker for ever. Like I'm talking like 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
I had one for like 10 and then I lost it.
The 50-cent piece?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had it for like 10 or 11 years and then
I always remembered you having that. That's why.
And then lost it, and I've never gone back to it. I need to probably find a 50 cent, but they're kind of hard to come by now, honestly.
Yeah.
But so I know people have used like the same ball markers for like 20, 25 years. I'm trying to think of like another superstition. I've run into some weird ones.
Yeah, my brain is just stuck too much on like in baseball you don't step on the chalk.
I knew a guy that always had to miss a belt loop.
Had to miss a belt loop?
Mm-hmm.
Why did he like one time?
He
play really
one time shot 66. Was like getting undressed afterwards. Realized he missed a belt loop, and he's like, "I've done it ever since."
well? Wow, that's dedication.
Which is so, like, to me. So I called it out. I'm like, "Hey, like, you missed a belt loop," and he's like, "No, I do this every time now." Like, that's a weird one to me. But like, I get it. Like, you start golf is like this in general. It's like when you've done something good, you like, all right, like, how do I like bottle that up?
Sure, yeah.
And I think sometimes it comes in weird superstitions.
Yeah. I feel like every routine or habit or like I've abandoned all of them at some point. You know what I mean? Like I don't have something that I've always consistently.
Outside the 3 dot thing, I think I've had some and then abandoned them.
Yeah.
Then I'll have another one and I kind of abandon it. Like I used to only use my Scotty Cameron, the one that came with my putter. My original Scotty Cameron I bought, I used to only use that divot tool. But now, like, I've got like 3 or 4 that I really like, and I use those. Like, I don't have to use that one. But so, like, I've abandoned that, I guess. But I used to, like, I've left it places, and like, I would like drive 45 minutes back to go find it.
Yeah.
But like now, I'm like, if I lost it, I would be sad. But like, I wouldn't be like that sad. Like, right. I'm not going to drive back and find like, oh well.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that like superstition wise, I don't step in front of birdies on the tee. I'll like, even if I'm like playing ready golf and I'm the first one there, I'll wait for the person that made birdie to tee off before I do.
That's fair.
I just
like bad
I give
karma.
Honors, I just give honors to a birdie or better. Like you just.
I can tell you this: like, there's only like warming up for a range, like warming up for a round. Like I only ever hit a 56, a 9 iron, a 7 iron, and a driver. That's the only clubs I hit.
Yeah.
Never ventured off. I'll never venture off that. And I've had people like, "Why don't you hit a long iron?" I'm like. I never felt the need to. I'm like, if I'm making a good swing with a 7 iron or I'm making bad swings with a 7 iron, what do I think is going to change with a 5 iron in my hand? Like, it's not going to be like, oh, yeah, okay, this feels better. You know what I mean? Like, it's to me that the range is about warming up, not working on stuff. Like before a round, like I don't need to hit 15 clubs, 14 clubs when I go to the driving range.
Right.
Or 13, I guess. I hit all, like, I know people that do that. I'm like,
yeah, they hit them all. That's
It's like,
no,
like I've had people like, why are like you only bring 4 clubs on the? I'm like, that's all you like. And honestly, to me, it's probably even too much.
Yeah,
like you could probably even get away with like a driver 7 iron and like a wedge.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I feel like I usually go 54, 9, maybe I'll throw 5 in there, and then driver. Like I don't.
Yeah, but like it's just not going to change. So that's why. I guess that would be a superstition. But like for a tournament, those are the only 4 clubs I warm up with.
Do you always end on the same club, or
so I hit driver and go back to a wedge, and I'll hit a couple wedges and then done.
Yeah. I used to be that way with putting, like pre-round, like especially in high school and like competitive stuff. I'd be like, all right, I got to make however many of these 3-footers or 5, whatever, and before I'm done.
I had the exact opposite. Probably 10 years ago. No, this is back in college. So it was probably almost 15 years ago. I was struggling putting so bad that like I refused to hit any putt on the inside 5 feet on the putting green because I just didn't want the bad.
You didn't want the bad thoughts to get in there.
The bad thoughts. Like I was just like, all right, I'm going to go out with a fresh slate.
Yeah.
So I just like didn't hit any putts inside 5 feet.
Yeah.
You know what? No chance.
I will say I have a little bit of that, like, when you're making them on the putting green
Yeah.
And
You're like, oh shit, I'm not gonna make a thing.
Yeah,
out
that
there.
or like you quit because you're like, oh, I got to save some. Like there's a finite amount of putts you can possibly make. I do that. When I especially do it is like you get down, you throw down a ball, you make the first one. If you make that second one, I just quit. I just pick up and go. I'm like, all right,
That's
we're
fair.
fine.
I don't blame you.
So that's that. I'll do that from time to time.
Yeah, I would like to hear. There's got to be some weird ones out there that we don't know about. I would like to hear about those.
Oh yeah. I'm just not.
Like
I
the
guess I'm not
belt
weird
loop's
enough.
probably like one of the weirdest ones I've ever run
that's
across.
pretty weird. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I knew somebody that wore the same belt a lot, like almost every round, especially like competitive rounds.
Yeah. I'm curious.
But
if
that
anybody-
seems less weird than the belt loop thing.
There's got to be people that have some rituals, like
Oh, yeah.
pre-round or pre-shot or
Oh,
whatever.
100%. Yeah, I'm just trying to think if I had any like playing in college or anything. I mean, like I had that one season where I just like would not hit short putts on the
Yeah,
putting green.
that's pretty bad.
That's also the year that I like bought a belly putter. So if that tells you anything,
Yeah.
where my mental space was at.
You were searching.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I really outside the ball marker and the three dots. Like the three dots is the only thing that's ever stuck though.
Yeah. Well, you know what's great? Both these patio beer questions are perfect fodder for fan mail.
Yeah,
So everybody, please.
I want to hear definitely about the superstitions because I think there's probably some weirdos listening to this that probably have some good ones.
Yeah, let us know about your
And
golf
it's-
rituals.
And it's anonymous, so if it's like super weird, we'll never know.
Yeah, don't put your name on it if you don't want us to. If you want to out yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, shoot us a text. There's a link down in the show description. You can do that pretty easily. Anything else? Are we out of here?
I think that's it.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening. We will see you next week. And until then, cheers.
See ya. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Back 9 Six Pack. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Back 9 Six Pack for all your content needs. We'll see you guys next week. Cheers.